Welcome, everyone. Today we're talking about freeing yourself from subconscious blocks. I'm Cathy Vartuli from the Intimacy Dojo, and I'm honored to be here with Rick Wilkes from Thriving Now. And this is one of my favorite topics because I think that so few of us know about this, and we've been kind of taught by our teachers and our parents that we should just use willpower and power through and make stuff happen. And yet, a lot of times we feel broken. It's like, why am I not able to power through? Why am I not able to use my willpower to create this? And we're going to be talking about this. And once we understand what's happening, we have so much more power. So, one of the tricks about subconscious blocks is they do not want to be seen. They're a protective mechanism, and they're much more protective and they work better if we don't even know they're there. So, we're encouraging you. You don't have to do this. Everything on our calls are at will. But if you'd like to pick one topic to work on for this call, and you can put it in the chat, you can just write it down in front of you, that will help. Because one way we, for some of us that have either ADHD or like to do a lot of different things because we're very creative, one way that our subconscious keeps us from seeing our blocks is by distracting us. So we get partway down the way to look at subconscious blocks around money, for instance, and then we're all of a sudden like, oh, I can never clean that closet, so that's a block too. They may have common roots, but if we stay on one path, we get a lot more clarity. We can map better, if that makes sense. So really encouraging you to identify one thing you want to work on, and we encourage you, if you feel comfortable, to put it in the chat because there's something powerful about sharing with a loving group. It really helps people heal faster and better. And the collective energy we have here today will help as well. So whether we're watching live now or later, there's a collective energy we're creating and stepping into that allows us to dissolve some of the blocks much more quickly. So Rick?
So a happy Emotional Freedom Day, something that July 11th. I really like that day, 7/11. And last year we started with a kind of an official first annual Emotional Freedom Day. So this Real Skills workshop, one of the reasons I believe it's a real skill is that unlike breathing, which we get pretty quickly after birth, we start breathing and our heart starts beating long before we're even born. This idea of a subconscious block, even if we're aware that there's a subconscious, oftentimes we get lost in self-criticism, self-hate. We can also get really way too general. So for example, someone put in the chat, my real thing is fear of success. Hmm. That is so general that it allows us to stay like 100 miles away from the wall and not actually see, feel, and be aware of what's going on. And as Cathy said, and we use an emotional technology called EFT tapping. If you're unfamiliar with it, you can get a free guide at thrivingnow.com/tapping. And we're not going to be teaching it today, but if you just follow along, we tap on natural comfort points on the body. These points are also used in acupuncture, acupressure, a lot of other things. And we use words to help tune us, but we're not just tuning our listening in our head, we're tuning into our body and our body's reaction. The subconscious is a part of the primitive brain, I believe, in the sense that things are happening long before you're aware that, what might be going on. Your body is already not doing or doing something. And that is useful information as long as you've got some skill and training to be curious rather than accusatory. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you, boy? I heard that. I didn't know what was wrong with me. All I know is that I was scared. I just didn't want to do it. I froze. Um, and a subconscious block is something that is powerful enough that, you don't go through a block wall. It's not the kind of thing like if you're stuck a bit and you apply enough willpower, you might grind your wheels to get out. if you're stalled, you can grind away on the starter and eventually the motor might kick over and you go for a little while longer. A block is something that is really significant. It is keeping you from something that you may really think and believe is something that you want to move toward, but you're actually not. You can see that like a movement toward it is you get as much or more of a movement away. That one step forward, two steps back, it's like one step toward, five steps back. That would be a block. And I'd love for Cathy if you could lead us in some tapping to help and some grounding to calm
Mhm.
our body and maybe give us a little confidence too that we
Yeah,
can do this.
I'd love to. And I just, right before we do some tapping, I just want to reiterate what Rick said about the subconscious. I've actually asked several traumatologists and neurologists about this because I was curious. And the subconscious is not a like specific part of our brain. It does include the survival part of our brain, the primitive brain, but it includes other parts of our brain that are operating beneath it's not the prefrontal cortex. It's not the thoughtful, logical, intellectual side of our brain, if that makes sense. So as we're trying to move forward, I like the idea of this invisible wall we're running into. We can't see it. And the closer we get, have you ever tried to put two north magnets together? Like two same side magnets together, like the closer you get, the harder it gets, the more work you're putting in. And you can never, if they're strong magnets, you can never put them together. You're just not strong enough. And so I think of this invisible wall, and we're wandering through our lives and we're hitting in these walls, and it kind of hurts. And we're kind of like, oh, I don't know where they are. I can't map them, and I'm constantly running into them. And often we'll feel like we're broken around a certain topic. Like Rick said, there's something wrong with us. So, karate chop. Even though I have some subconscious blocks,
Even though I'm sure I have some subconscious blocks,
most people do.
most people do.
And they kind of make me feel like I'm not very effective.
And they kind of make me feel like I'm not nearly as effective.
I'd like to clear these,
I would really like to clear them,
even though I'm not even sure what some of my subconscious blocks are.
even though I'm not really sure what some of my subconscious blocks are.
They don't want to be seen.
They don't want to be seen.
And I'm smart enough to hide them from myself.
I am definitely smart enough to be able to hide them from myself.
There might be ways to heal this anyway.
There might be ways to heal this anyway.
I am not aligned about moving forward in this direction.
I am not aligned about moving forward in this direction.
Part of me really wants to do it.
Part of me really wants to do it.
I put a lot of time, energy, and money into moving forward.
I've put a lot of time, money, and energy into moving forward,
And yet I never make progress.
and yet I never make progress.
Sometimes I think I'm making progress,
Sometimes I think I'm making progress,
but then I run away
and then I run away.
or I get distracted
I get distracted,
or I fail yet again.
or I fail yet again.
Is there something wrong with me?
Is there something wrong with me?
What if there's nothing wrong with me?
What if there's nothing wrong with me?
What if some part of me is in reverse
What if some part of me is in reverse
for very, very good reasons?
for its very, very good reason?
They may not be logical reasons,
They may not be logical reasons,
but it has its reasons.
but it has its reasons.
And we can heal this.
And we can heal this.
We can align with ourselves
We can align with ourselves.
and start making really beautiful, easy progress.
Start making even surprisingly easy progress.
Take a nice deep breath. And notice what's coming up for you in your body. Some of you may feel hopeful, expansive. Some of you may notice a fear because there's a very protective mechanism about subconscious blocks. It's really trying to save you from yourself. And so if you notice that fear, I'd like you to just comfort yourself if you can. Rick and I never try to bully any part of you. We never try to throw away any part of you. We want to love that part, understand it, and then offer it upgrades that it gets to choose. This is not about forcing yourself or willpowering yourself. So if there's part of you that feels afraid, Just like offer yourself some love and say, I'm not gonna make you do anything right now. Can I just lead a tapping really quickly on the making? Because I think that's really
Yeah.
important. There might be a part of you. So let's just try this on and see if there's a part of you that's like, please don't make me. Can you just
Oh,
repeat, please?
yeah.
Sorry.
Please don't make me.
I don't want to.
I don't want to.
It's really scary.
It's really scary.
I'm afraid we'll be hurt.
I'm afraid we'll be hurt again.
I'm afraid they'll be angry.
I'm afraid they'll be angry.
I'm afraid someone will take it away.
I'm afraid someone will take it away.
What if this isn't safe?
What if this isn't safe?
What if I get too full of myself?
What if I get too full of myself?
There's so many things to be afraid of.
There's so many things to be afraid of.
Please don't make me do this.
Please don't make me do this.
And just take a breath and just send some heart love to that part of you there's been part, like if you have blocks and you aren't moving forward, there's likely some part of you that is terrified and it's been trying to keep you safe despite all your eagerness to move forward. It's like, this really isn't safe. And when we have early experiences that Rick and I call, they're traumas, because as children, they seem too big. They seem too big for us to handle. We form these energy bubbles. We have the trauma stored as an energy bubble, and that part doesn't get the upgrades. It's frozen in time, literally, fight, flight, freeze. It's frozen in time. So while your cognitive brain and a lot of the rest of you is kind of going along, learning new things, new experiences, learning that you're powerful, that part of you that's stuck in the energy bubble probably thinks you're still a little kid. This 3-year-old or 4-year-old or 5-year-old that learned this thing. And so it's really scared. It doesn't feel powerful. And we're going to do tapping today to help you integrate that part and help it. Often those parts are really, really excited. Once we dissolve the energy bubble and get them on board, they're very powerful and they're very excited to help you create the very thing you've been fighting to get to.
So notice one of the things that we've done in this sort of the first step in the process is we've acknowledged that there's probably some things hanging out. Cathy tuned you to one area of your life. Really useful. Like if you're going to be doing this work, the part of it that you can do on your own is like, okay, there's this area of my life. And what we're seeing in the chat are things like eating and success and where we live and, what we're going to be like and what relationships are like with others. Am I allowed to put my own needs, to even be aware of my own needs? What would that mean? We're freeing up that this is not about forcing anything. So one of our assumptions, like Cathy, and just to amplify it, one of our assumptions is that if it's a subconscious block, it's the kind of thing that actually is so devoted to your safety that it wants to stay hidden because maybe you're the type of person that smashes into things. And this block is not actually there to be smashed. It could be that it's there because if you try to go exactly in that direction, doom lies ahead. And I don't use that lightly. I'll give you a specific. If you're one of the people said, I keep trying to lose weight, this is a paraphrase, but there's a part of me that refuses to be deprived. Show of hands, anybody like to be deprived? Is that like your thing? Like, please deprive me of nourishment. Please deprive me of food, air, water, love, sex. Please deprive me of that. That's really what I want. If your energy about your well-being, the size of your, what you're carrying in terms of stored organic energy in your body, if what you're trying to do is to go in the direction of deprivation, it will be like, oh no, That's a guardrail. A block, I would invite us to assume that the block is there for a good and profound I have never found a block that didn't have intelligence behind it. Working with thousands of people. And chances are, if it's like, I try to go towards success in that direction, energetic direction, actually is doomed for you. You'd end up being someone you don't like. That doesn't mean that success doesn't have 359 other directions, maybe, that you could go in, but the block, until we make it conscious and start playing with it, is going to keep you. Now, that's just an assumption. I've got a lot of anecdotal and real life evidence inside of myself too about all of these things: love, friendship, money, health, well-being, learning a new language, you name it. I believe that most of us that are trying to do something that's not happening for us, if we assume that there's a really profound and important block that is keeping us from going in the direction until we work with the energy in a conscious, mindful way, in a way that makes it different than how you viewed it before. And that's the difference between it being a subconscious block, which is stopping you, and a conscious guide which says, oh, I'm starting to go in the direction of deprivation. No wonder I couldn't do that. There's this beautiful guardrail there to keep me from going in that direction.
Yeah. And I really think that this is such a juicy topic. And I've seen several people saying they're not really sure how to identify blocks. They're not seeing the blocks. And some of us have really clear ideas. And as Rick said earlier, sometimes we keep them general. Because if we keep them general, we don't have to know the pain point. I have never met a subconscious block that didn't have some pain stored in it, some grief, some anger, some betrayal, some experience of trauma. Subconscious blocks are formed because we experience something that's traumatic. And so we don't often want to look very closely at them because it's pain, it's sore. So we're going to have you follow some clues, and we're going to do some tapping to make this more gentle and easy. Because one of the biggest things to realize is the pain happened a long time ago for most of us. And we can heal it now. We're not stuck with it for life. It's not like we got a wound in our arm and we've got to carry it for the rest of our lives. The whole point is, okay, we're going to find out, is there something in there that's causing pain? Take it out and make sure it gets, the right medicine and so it can heal. So we don't have to face that particular wound ever again. It's now healed up, and all the energy that went into protecting that can go into creating the life we want. So Rick, do you want to talk a little bit about the clues we can follow so that as we're trying to again, we don't want to see these. So there's a lot of resistance, and there are some clues that can help us narrow it in.
I'm also seeing in the chat some energies. I'd like to just pause
yes.
for a moment. And, there's some shame, there's some anger at my term guardrail. It's like, I don't like guardrails. I hate my guardrails. We hate the guardrail until we look about 15 feet past it and there's this cliff, and, we don't see that. We just see the guardrail. We feel the block. We feel the past, the weight of the past. So, right chop. Even though a part of me hates that I have these blocks.
Even though part of me hates that I have these blocks.
They don't feel smart.
They don't feel smart.
They don't feel caring.
They don't feel caring.
I've assigned so much of my pain.
I've assigned so much of my pain.
And my shame.
Around
these blocks. Top of the head. I've decorated them.
I've
got graffiti on them.
I've got graffiti on them.
Out of the eye. I tossed a big pile of poop on them.
I've tossed a big pile of poop on them.
I've even decorated them.
I've even decorated them?
Yeah. I hate what I perceived as my blocks.
I hate what I perceive as my blocks.
What if it's actually deeper than the way I've perceived it?
What if it's actually deeper than the way I perceived it?
What if it's deeper than the story I've been telling myself?
What if it's deeper than the story I've been telling myself?
Under the arm. What if it's not about the money?
What if it's not about the money?
What if it's not about the fat?
What if it's not about the fat?
What if it's not really about the story I've made up?
What if it's not really about the story I've made up?
What if there's something subconscious here?
What if there's something subconscious here?
I wonder if there's something deeper.
I wonder if there's something deeper.
Is it really deprivation
Is it really deprivation
that stops me
that stops me
from taking care of myself,
from taking care of myself
nourishing myself in a more
and,
balanced way,
and nourishing myself in a more balanced way?
of getting the money that is right for me?
Of getting the money that's right for me?
Who would I have to be? Who would I have to be
Who would I have to be
to match up with what I want?
to match up with what I want?
And is there something in there that repulses me?
And is there something in there that repulses me?
So one of the things that I'm noticing as clues is that um, I believe that our subconscious blocks are often at the place of identity. So, for example, I have a hard time knowing what my needs are. Okay. Who would you be if you really knew your needs and asked for them to be met? And is there any part of that identity that feels a little repulsive to you or a lot repulsive to you? If you made money, if instead of making $10, you made $100 on the same exact piece of art, who would you have to be? Oh, I'm a this. And does that feel really good in your body? Because subconscious blocks protect an identity and protect us from identities that are not going to be right for us. It's one of the clues. And if you have something that you've really tapped on and worked on, one of the clues is to imagine yourself getting that and see whether you'd like who you think you'd become. Okay. Um, does that make sense?
One of
So we can
my favorite ways
pause
that
for a moment and do that after you say.
Oh, one of my favorite ways to do that is just to daydream that I've achieved what I want. And often I will notice my daydream goes south really fast. Like I've achieved the money and then everyone wants it from me, or people are jealous or angry, or yeah, I'm now in danger because of it. So like let yourself we're going to give you just a minute, however you want to kind of step into that thought pattern of having the thing you want and notice what comes up in your body and in your mind. And we encourage you to share in the chat if you want to, or at least write it down, because our brains around this, they'll erase the whiteboard really quick when you're not looking. And have compassion for yourself if you can. If you feel a lot of fear, just be gentle. Just notice it. They're clues. We don't need you to dive into the deep end of the pool. Just notice what's there.
If you have something as potent as I don't feel like I deserve to exist, I'm guessing that the people around you that felt like they deserve to exist are not nice people. The ones that treated you as if you didn't deserve to exist were not nice people. I'm pretty sure that if you had hung with Cathy and I growing up and yesterday, you know, that might not be as much of an issue. I see a whole bunch of people on here. I know that if you hung out with them, that you probably, it wouldn't be as strong. But one of the blocks can be, I don't want to be like them. Even though I refuse to be like them,
Even though I refuse to be like them.
they treated me like I didn't deserve to exist,
They treated me like I didn't deserve to exist.
like I wasn't worthy just being here.
Like I wasn't worthy just being here.
They were convinced they were worthy.
They were convinced they were worthy.
I'd rather be worthless than be like them.
I would rather be worthless than be like them.
Maybe I'm blocked from being at all like them.
Maybe I'm blocked from being at all like them.
Eyebrow. They felt like they were the king.
They felt like they were the king.
Side of the eye. The dictator.
The dictator.
Under the eye. Worthy of me being their slave.
Worthy of me being their slave.
Under the nose. I feel so worthless.
I feel so worthless.
And they felt really worthy.
They felt really worthy.
Collarbone. Maybe a part of me decided that I was worthless.
Maybe a part of me decided I was worthless.
That's the way they treated me.
That's the way they treated me.
And I refused to be like them no matter what.
And I refused to be like them no matter what.
Now, you could do something like that about somebody who was really clear what their needs were and demanded it of everyone else. You could do that about, like, I have an issue about diets, because my mother was on a diet all the time. She always felt deprived. She always, there was a lot of noise about it. So for me to think about changing what I eat brings in a lot of that, because I don't want to be like my mom. Sorry. Love you, Mom. I don't, in that area, oh no, I really don't. I don't want to have that relationship with food. And a part of me will be repulsed by it enough that I'll eat 2 chocolate bars. It's that strong a block, a guardrail. It's like, no, no, no. Boy, you do not want to be in that gravitational pull. And these are clues. Like if there was someone in your life where if you said, well, that's what success means because they had success, but you really don't want success the way that they did it, whether it's academic success or financial success or artistry or relationship. And you're like, oh, I would never want to be married like they were. They had a successful marriage in that they didn't kill each other and it lasted until death do they part. And they were all in a hurry to get out. Like, why would you think of marriage or deep relating as a good thing? And this is the subconscious. I mean, who looks at life this way? Well, we do, because we want you to be free of this operating in the background. This kind of like, I don't want to be like this person. And it can be, that's why we're looking at really narrow. Like mine today was like friends, male friends. That's an issue for me. I was abused by a man when I was a teenage boy. I know about that one. And he had a lot of male friends that were a part of his world. My dad too was a man's man, had all of that. And so like, this is what I'm playing with, but this applies in just about every of the cases that I've seen. Think about the persons that taught you about what success meant, or what about like losing weight meant, or what about getting paid. Did you like the way that they get paid? If you didn't, your primitive brain probably said, oh gosh, it made a vow never to be like them. And that is a really core kind of guardrail.
And they can happen really subtly. I remember growing up, we were very, very poor. Like at times my mom had to decide between putting gas in the gas tank or feeding us. So there was a lot of lack in around money. So and my mom was very sensitive about that. She'd not grown up that poor, poverty stricken. And I remember we were driving past a neighbor's house and it was a nice house. And the way she said, "Oh, they got a new house," and just her tone, I was like, "Oh, if I get something nice like that, there'll be an issue." Like just, the way she was a little snide, a little judgmental. My survival brain just went, "Oh, we can never have anything too nice because you will be judged, your family won't love you anymore. People will make comments about that." And I had to do a lot of tapping before I could really get past that. So there's just a subtle thing. Traumas don't have to be big like explosions. Sometimes they're like my brain went, "Oh, if I want to be loved, I can't have anything nice like that. If don't want to be judged or pushed away." So as you're going through clues, let yourself pick up. Like I love what everybody's sharing, and I encourage you to read them as you get a chance, because sometimes other people will say things that remind us of the thing we're trying to avoid. But just to kind of go through the clues, I want to just kind of give an overview. Like if you're not sure or you're wanting to narrow it down, you can just look at areas that you're not making progress on. If there's something you keep saying, "I'm going to do that," and it's been years and you haven't done it, or you keep starting it and never finishing it, that's a really good sign there's a subconscious block there. And you may have some conscious ideas too. Often we'll blame it on the conscious ideas to avoid seeing the real root of the cause of what's going on. Um, like the daydreaming or just imagining what would happen if you got the thing you wanted can help you. If you notice that you feel broken about something, you feel like there's something fundamentally wrong about you that you can't change this one thing, that's a good clue that there's a pretty strong subconscious block there. Now there are we often have a lot of little bubbles, like we've had, big and small bubbles of trauma are interspersed in our system. We don't necessarily have to clear them all. We have to clear some of the big ones that are blocking us, and we may find that the others clear more naturally, or, oh, there's one I can tap it through really quickly and clear it out. But there may be more than one, but we're trying to help you focus on a big one that's stopping you from moving forward so that your system can learn how to clear this. Because the really cool thing is, as our system learns how to do this, it gets more and more easy. The first few times I tapped with Rick, I was like, I had to take the day off from work a couple of times because I was like the next day, because I was so exhausted. So much was changing in my neurology. And over time it got easier and easier. And now I can be like, "Oh, I'm going to sit on the couch for 5 minutes and just let things integrate, and I'm okay to go ahead." Our systems get better. It's like building this muscle of clearing and identifying and clearing and identifying so that we have this power. And one of the things that inspires me the most about this work is that while we have some conscious blocks, we're fighting ourselves. We're like, there's part of us that wants to move ahead and do this thing. There's part of us that's terrified. And we put so much of our energy into doing this. And we're like, "Oh, I don't have enough energy. This is so hard." And when we go back and we stop fighting, we're like, "Oh my God, this must have been so hard. Thank you so much for helping me stay safe. Thank you for all your good intentions. Let's do some tapping on the whatever caused this." And this part starts healing, and it opens up. And then I love asking, "Hey, you're really good at protecting me. Can you help me achieve this now?" And instead of doing this with all our might, all of a sudden this side is helping and we're just like rocketing forward. And there's been times, Rick and Carol Look have an amazing program on clearing clutter. I was helping them a lot with stuff, and I went through I was editing the transcripts and the audios, and I was tapping as I went. I got rid of so much stuff I had to call a moving van to take the stuff to the women's shelter. And I would wake up at 5 a.m, so excited, like not tired. I was like, "Oh my God, I can clean this closet." It was so easy, so natural. It felt great. I had tons of energy. And, there's occasionally I'll get a little cluttered again, and I'll just do a little tapping and I'll clear it out. And my house is really not cluttered anymore. But I had so much stuff. It was ridiculous because it made me feel safe. And I cleared the blocks, and all of a sudden I couldn't not do it. And that's what we want for you. These goals that you've longed for, that your heart has really been aligned with, and you won't envision for yourself, that you may have even given up on. Just like, "I guess I never get to have that in this lifetime." when you clear these blocks, not only does it get so that you can do them, it's that you sometimes can't not do them. And they're just like, they happen. And it's so, I love that so much. And I want that for each of you.
Thank you, Cathy. I'm getting the feeling that people are becoming aware of the intensity of the block and how much pain it gets from like being with it and banging into it. So, for example, if success was embodied as something that you're never going to have, you're always going to be a failure, this isn't for you, you're inferior to other people, then the truth of the matter is that the energy of success, as you experience it right now, is a block. What you believe in your body, I'm not talking about somebody else's body. We're noticing a lot of people that share this, right? Like my definition of success was something that is very different now. When we have a block, we're trying to get to something, success or a win, and we're trying to go through this thing that has really been set in place in our nervous system. And I believe that in your story about clutter, that what Carol and I do in the clutter program is start shifting the energy from being about you being a slob who has way too many things, which is what a lot of people feel the shame of their clutter, to it being about each of the things we has emotional content to it. And if you can be with the emotional content of it, then you can have a very different direction. Clearing clutter because you're ashamed almost never actually happens. And if the direction of clearing clutter is I have to get away from this shame, when people clear it, it comes right back. It just does. Because they haven't actually like moved their direction so that they're moving towards something that they want. And so again, like I believe that tapping can clear a lot of blocks, and that happens. But I also believe that a block like what we're talking about, these subconscious blocks, if we assume that what you think is success, what you think is failure, what you think is worthy is in really strong need for compost, right? It's like the produce you bought 27 years ago that's still in the bottom of your psyche, right?
Yeah.
Really ready for composting. It's not useful. And you get to a place where you start using your energy, and that's part of our process here is like start using your energy to come up with a new direction and a new definition. Okay. So um, even though I've been pounding away against this block,
Even though I've been pounding away against this block,
they taught me I was worthless,
they taught me I was worthless,
that I would never succeed.
that I would never succeed.
I'm not allowed to earn money.
I'm not allowed to earn money.
I'm not allowed to get up and move, whatever that means.
I'm not allowed to get up and move, whatever that means.
Maybe it's time to compost a lot of what I've been thinking.
Maybe it's time to compost a lot of what I've been thinking.
What if I composted a lot of what I was thinking?
What if I composted a lot of what I was thinking?
And approach this fresh.
And approach this fresh.
A way that would feel right to me.
A way that would feel right to me.
A way that would feel attractive to me.
A way that would feel attractive to me.
That I could actually see myself moving toward.
A way that I could actually see myself moving towards.
That would be different.
That would be different.
What if it's not about success?
What if it's not about success?
What if it's not about deprivation?
What if it's not about deprivation?
What if it's not definitely about exercise?
What if it's definitely not about exercise?
Where would that leave me?
Where would that lead me?
What would open up then?
What would open up then? I think this is a really good time to point out that as you're getting clues and you're starting to narrow down, ask yourself, where did I learn this? Your subconscious will often answer questions that you pose that way. It can't help it. We answer questions. If you walk up to a complete stranger and you say what time it is, they look at their wrist. Even if they don't want to talk to you, they're like, there's a natural response we want to answer. Who taught me this? Where did I learn this? Can be really powerful ways to target in on where this particular block came in. And if the closer you can get to the core of it, the faster you can shift it, which is really powerful. And I've seen a lot of people talking in the chat about like this fear of like people want us to be small and quiet and not try to not succeed too much. So I just like to lead a tapping on that because I think a lot of us heard that when we were growing up. They wanted us to be small and quiet. Even though they taught me not to succeed,
Even though they taught me not to succeed,
they never wanted me to stand out.
they never wanted me to stand out.
And they judged people who stood out.
And they judged people who stood out.
Maybe they're just scared rabbits in the bushes.
Maybe they are scared rabbits in the bushes.
Even though they traumatized me with their fears,
Even though they traumatize me with my fears,
maybe I don't have to live that way anymore.
maybe I don't have to live that way anymore.
They were scared.
They were scared.
They wanted me to stay still and quiet in the bushes.
They wanted me to stay small, quiet, in the bushes,
Never stand out.
never, ever stand out.
And maybe their experiences taught them that.
And maybe their experiences taught them that.
But I'm actually really quite safe right now.
What if I'm safer than I feel?
What if I can dance in the yard
What if I can dance in the yard
rather than hiding in the bushes?
rather than hiding in the bushes?
I might be safer than I think.
I might be safer than I think. And I don't
I
even
might,
have to call that exercise.
yeah. I might be safer than they think too.
I might be safer than they think too.
Just take a nice deep breath. I know that my mother is always very afraid when she sees I have YouTube videos out and then I'm doing these calls. She's like, who's watching? Who's doing these things? And I notice every time she says that, there's a little leap of fear in my body because I grew up with this woman and I love her. And maybe she's seeing something that I don't. And I was, like it was really scary to start doing this, to whether you're putting out your art to sell or you're expressing yourself more at work. It can be scary to do that. We're leaving the bushes and are like the part of us that's afraid will feel a little leap of fear. And for a long time, I thought that fear was a sign there was something wrong. And I'm learning to kind of be with it and like, okay, let me look. Is there anything that I should be afraid of? I don't see anything. Maybe I'll take baby steps forward and just notice that sometimes the fear is just that I'm doing something new that I'm not used to. And I love that I can, touch people's lives all over the world. Like that's really important to me. And if I let that fear of being seen, of being visible, hold me back, I would have never been able to do that. And I think for many of us, we're wanting to be a little more successful, a little more visible out there. And there's part of us that there's a very natural inclination to stay quiet and still because that is safer. It's certainly not more fulfilling. It's certainly not more abundant. And there are times in our lives where we have, it's a very wise thing. During COVID, people staying home and being quieter, it was a very wise thing. And yet, as we go, okay, many of us are in places where it's safer now, but we get to judge. And it's nice when we can judge with our cognitive brain as well as our, not letting the fears override us, the experience that we've had just swamp us and shut us down. Rick, do you want to have some people come forward, or do you want to? How do you want to do this?
There's something that like we're coming up. we we tend to attract people that have done a lot of personal work, and and this is something I'm feeling. Um, if if your dad told you that you can't make money as an artist, and you're many decades aware of that, so like a subconscious block is, I don't know why I refuse to do art and try to make money at it. And then if you tune into, well, where did I learn this? This third one of the steps that we're talking about in the process, and you go like, oh, dada told me that. Can't manage my money. Where did I learn that? Oh shit. Dada said women never make as much money as men. They don't get to be taught about finances and the like. Really archaic stuff. But you weren't aware of it. That's really a classic um, subconscious block. Now, if you've been aware of this for decades and you're still pointing at that as the reason, one of the tests is imagine that you're there now and dad tells you this. Does your energy collapse? Do you get angry? What happens to your energy there? Um, but sometimes we can land with a piece of the conscious, like, oh, where did I learn this? Well, my dad said, and I'm going to make it true, right? I'm never going to make money as an artist because I. So the subconscious block is below that story. If you've known about what your dad said, if you've had therapy, if you've spent thousands of dollars, if you've worked with other people on it and it's still there, and you're pointing to that as to why you're not being an artist, just being direct, that ain't it. That's not your subconscious block. That's not why you're not actually being an artist. There's something else at work here. That's my theory.
I think
And
it likes to hide, and sometimes it's the
it does.
opposite. So, like, for a long time, I would feel this longing for people. And I was like, I really wanted, I'm a very, very shy person. I've learned to deal with it, but like, I wanted to be around people, and I would tap and tap and work on the, like, I want to be around people, but I don't know how. It wasn't until I really tapped on my fear of being, like, a part of me didn't want to be around people. Part of me had learned that people were really scary. I had to look in the mirror and look at the opposite side and do some clearing. And then I actually started moving forward. Our subconscious is super tricky. It will try to hide things. So if you've, like Rick said, if you've done a lot of work in one way, look at the opposite. What if I don't want to do this? What if part of me like is afraid of, like, look in the other direction? I want to be around people. Well, maybe I don't want to be around people. Part of me doesn't. Does that make sense?
But this is another way that you can loosen up and drop a little deeper. I'd like to lead a just that we're going to take our 7-minute break here in a moment, so that you can like drop in, take a pause, take care of yourself, get some deeper reflection.
And then we'll come back and tap with folks.
Yes. Even though I want this,
Even though I want this,
I don't want this.
I don't want this.
Even though I don't want this,
Even though I don't want
I
this,
really want this.
I really want this.
No. And my block is a tug of war
And my block is a tug of war
about what I want and what I don't want.
about what I want and what I don't want.
The people I didn't want to be like,
The people I didn't want to be like,
the people I vowed to show.
the people I vowed to show.
I'll show you,
I'll show you,
even if it's worked against me.
even if it's worked against me.
I want this.
I want this.
My bro, I don't want this.
I don't want this.
So yeah, I don't want this because
I don't want this because
I want this because
I want this because
under the nose, I don't want this because.
I don't want this because
And part of me takes my vows seriously.
a part of me takes my vows very seriously.
They become deeply embedded.
They become deeply embedded.
You could even call them a block until I change my vow.
You can even call them a block until I change my vow.
And I'm bringing all of this to consciousness.
And I'm bringing all of this to consciousness.
The conflicts, tug of wars,
The conflicts, the tug of wars,
and the vows,
and the vows,
and the repulsion.
and the repulsion. I
Okay.
kind of look at this as a way, like if you had knotted yarn, like we're kind of getting it loose a little bit right now. We're not actually knitting yet, but we're making sure we can get the knots out so you can actually see what's going on. So if you can, over the next 7 minutes during our break, take care of your body, bio break, whatever, get some water. Walking around can help some people too. But if you feel drawn to just doing a little bit of journaling, we're still in this collective connection, this bubble that we've created together. So your subconscious giving you a little bit of time for you to process. Again, our subconscious likes to erase the whiteboard. So if you can write it down, you can share it in the chat as well. I'll be monitoring the chat during the break. That can help because it's now presented to other people and it's a little harder to erase. It's more real somehow to our subconscious. So if you can, stay focused on this a little bit, stay in the bubble we've created. And Rick, are you going to give us times?
Yep. We'll be back at the top of the hour.
Great.
So 7 minutes. I'm going to pause the record. Welcome back. Good to have you with us. And just to acknowledge as we took that pause, you returned. You're the kind of person who has enough courage and hardiness that this matters enough to you. And that makes you really, in my heart, in my mind, an exceptional person in the sense that a lot of people are running around with their blocks and banging around. And for you to take the time to be present with a group of people at a time in our, I think, in human history where the blocks that are driving a lot of our behaviors, in addition to our primitive brain, fight, flight, freeze reactions, if we can shift that, one of the things that really matters to me about emotional freedom is that when we see ourselves in our mirror and in our behaviors, that we bring some savvy, some real skill. It's like, oh, that was a fight, flight, freeze response. I'm pretty sure that was coming from my primitive brain. When we see that we want something, but instead, every time we move toward it, we back off, or there's a sense of rebellion or resistance that we can't overcome, that we're aware that, I'm probably dealing with a subconscious block. And I've got some people in my life who really can help me look at this with some savvy, not like, oh, you weak dude there, Rick, you need to just pull your stuff together and get it done. Like, that's not helpful to me with a subconscious block. I've already tried that. I probably have a bruise on my forehead from hitting it hard enough from driving that way. Subconscious blocks to me need refinement. And that's where this type of work is something we do in our emotional freedom circles. If you go to thrivingnow.com/circles, many of the people on the call are members of the circle. We're building up some experience and savvy and community about doing this together. We also have the Thriving Now Center, which is a place where you can collect your thoughts and you can share about a block that you have and kind of what's the landscape, what's the story you know about it, what are some things that you kind of sense that might be a contributor. And if you're willing to open up to some other perspectives, that's a very powerful way I know that when I share out there, that I get back, even just what people hear me say, it's wonderful to get back a little bit about what people are hearing you say so that you get another perspective. And that's a free service, thrivingnow.center. And yeah, so we have some hands raised. Are you willing to take our first volunteer, Cathy?
Yeah, I'd love to. Jennifer, if you'd like to unmute, and I'm taking people in order as they came up. So,
Great. Hi.
hey, Jennifer. Oh, so what's coming up for you around this?
Well, I realize I've been having a lot of problems with my eyes lately. And it's really interesting because I've also been having a lot of trouble with just getting a clear vision for my life in a
Mm-hmm.
way that I feel really inspired.
Yeah.
And I just keep bouncing all over the place. I'll get really excited about something and start it, and then it fizzles out. I go to the next thing, and I've been doing this for years. And
Okay.
yeah. So it's just there's something else going on, and I don't know if it's something I can't see.
Yep. Or don't want to
Um,
see, or what would happen if you had that really clear vision for your life? What can you tell us? Like, what would happen?
mm, um, in a good way, like how I would
It can be
envision
good,
it.
but like, there's probably some fears in there. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
have more clarity, probably.
Yeah, I think part of what I suspect might be the block is a fear of if I am really successful that I'll be overwhelmed. Like there's
Okay.
this part that is just like is scared of being overwhelmed,
Yeah.
or losing my freedom in some way,
Yeah.
not being able to yeah, to do what I want to do, that I'll be overcommitted and be too responsible, that I won't have the freedom that I think I have now, which I don't know if it's real freedom.
Great. All right, let's just do some tapping. And I encourage people that are listening to tap along, even if you feel like this isn't your thing. Our system will copy over and you might find some things that you weren't looking at. Karate chop. Even though I really don't want to see this,
Even though I really don't want to see this.
I'm afraid to see a clear vision.
I'm afraid to see a clear vision.
And part of me is protecting me from myself.
And part of me is protecting me from myself.
I would like to know what direction to head.
I really would like to know what direction to head,
Even though I can't see this,
even though I can't see this.
and I probably have some subconscious blocks.
And I probably have some subconscious blocks.
What if I could find a safe way to move forward?
What if I could find a safe way to move forward?
I can't find a safe way to move forward.
I can't find a safe way to move forward.
If I have a clear vision,
If I have a clear vision,
I'm going to overwhelm myself.
I'm going to overwhelm myself.
I'm going to overcommit myself.
I'm going to overcommit myself.
I'm going to hurt myself.
I'm going to hurt myself.
And I might lose track of some other things that matter.
And I might lose track of some other things that matter.
No wonder I don't want to see this.
No wonder I don't want to see this.
I'm scared.
I'm scared.
I'm afraid this vision will pull me forward so strongly.
I'm afraid this vision will pull me forward so strongly
I'll lose myself.
that I'll lose myself.
I'll lose my balance.
I'll lose my balance.
And I won't be able to take care of other things I love.
And I won't be able to take care of other things I love.
What if that doesn't have to be true?
What if that doesn't have to be true?
I learned this from somewhere.
I learned this from somewhere.
But I bet I could find new ways to move forward.
But I bet I could find new ways to move forward.
Ways that leave me some balance.
Ways that leave me some balance.
And plenty of time for self-care.
And plenty of time for self-care.
Take a nice deep breath. And notice what's coming up for you as we tap through that. Like is there yeah buts, or like what are you noticing in your body and your mind?
Yeah, I do notice like there's just the conflict. Like there is this part that just feels like I want to share my gifts and I want that dedicated attention, but the fear that is like, ugh, I don't know. There's something really resistant to it.
Where did you learn this? Where did you learn to fear this? Do you have an idea?
It's interesting because when we were talking about like, is there someone who is what we envision that we also are kind of repulsed by? And I'm thinking about my mom, had a very clear vision and was very successful. But she was also really overwhelmed and really overworked and
Yeah.
depressed.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really thought of that before.
I don't want to be like her.
I don't want to be like her.
I don't want to experience a vision like she has.
I don't want to experience a vision like she has.
And part of me thinks I've got to follow in her footsteps.
Part of me feels like I need to follow in her footsteps.
So no wonder I don't want a vision.
No wonder I don't want a vision.
If I have to follow her steps,
if I have to follow her steps,
that's not a dance I want to dance.
That's not a dance I want to dance.
Why do I have to follow her steps?
Why do I have to follow her steps?
Well, that's what I saw.
Well, that's what I saw.
And part of me absorbed that.
And part of me absorbed that.
That younger me felt neglected.
Yeah, that younger me definitely felt neglected.
And really left aside. So I think I have to neglect myself to create this vision. And maybe neglect other things I love. So why would I want that vision? Do I really have to be that driven? What if I can find a balance that works for me? I invite the part of me that's been hiding the vision from me. To help me come up with ways that I can create a lovely balance. Times when I'm following my vision. And times when I'm taking care of myself so well. Each day. So I never feel neglected or lost. And I can still feel my passion. Take a nice deep breath. And I just invite you to notice that some people will follow a passion as a way to avoid a lot of their lives. The passion becomes an avoidant mechanism, like OCD or whatever. And they don't see, because it's this like, I don't want to look at anything else, I'm avoiding my life, it becomes very compulsive. And we don't have to experience, our passion might be something that makes us smile when we get up in the morning, we're excited about doing it, but we still can have a balanced awareness, like, oh, I'm really tired today. Maybe I'm going to work less today, or this person that I love is having a hard time. So while I can still enjoy, feel the passion flowing and the vision, I can choose to say, I'm only going to work a little bit of time, or I'm going to put that aside and still have it be part of the life without sucking everything into it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Does that feel like something you can try out?
Yeah, it does.
Thanks so much for bringing this forward.
Yeah, thank you, Cathy. Appreciate it.
Go ahead and meet you.
I think I did. And then you might have as well. Did we mess up?
She's muted. Jennifer's muted.
Okay. And one of the things that just to amplify something, when Cathy asked, like, who did you learn this from and what were they like? She mentioned overwhelm. So one of the things as you're establishing a new path, because I believe in evolution, I believe that we are in the process of crafting a different emotional world, a different kind of emotional reality. And if the predominant energy was overwhelm, one of the things I notice, like my mother was a worrier, overwhelmed in worry. I can tell because I will hit a block on any project whatsoever if I am not managing, tap, 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 my overwhelm and my worry. It will act as we have to pause here. Just pause, manage your overwhelm and worry, get curious, calm and confidence yourself, subjects for other calls that we have available to us. calm yourself and confidence yourself so that you're not in this place of overwhelm and worry, Rick, because we're not going to let you go off the cliff. And when I do that, things change. So you can unmute. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. So,
Hello.
yeah, so my issue is, and I've dealt with this my whole life, and I've worked on it so much, so I don't know why I still have this issue, which is to say, I've wanted to be a published fiction writer all my life, and I can never do it. I can't. It seems like something's always blocking me, distractions or things come up, and I don't have time, or even if I have time, then I create distractions. Lots of things happen, and by now it's just kind of ridiculous. It's like, okay, I've worked on it so much, and why am I still having these?
Why am I still blocked?
Why am I still blocked?
Definitely blocked.
I'm definitely blocked.
I'm better at creating distractions than chapters.
I'm better at creating distractions than chapters.
I can definitely take myself off track.
I can definitely take myself off track.
I can even create ridiculous beliefs.
I can even create ridiculous beliefs.
Like I have to clear all my clutter before
I have to
I can write.
before I can write.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What is it about being a published author that doesn't feel right to me?
Doesn't feel right to me.
So as you imagine, you see your book, you're published. How does your body respond to that? Is it an open and yes kind of feeling, or is there something else?
I have a hard time feeling things, but it seems to me what I'm feeling is fear.
Okay. I feel fear at it.
I feel fear at it.
What's in the fear?
It's in the fear.
Fear is a great block.
Fear's a great block.
It's so useful.
So useful.
Don't pet the tiger. Don't pet the tiger.
Don't pet the tiger.
Don't cuddle the viper.
Don't cuddle the viper.
Fear is so useful.
Fear is so useful.
There's something about being a published fiction writer that feels unsafe for me.
It feels unsafe for me.
I wonder what it is.
I wonder what it is.
So feeling into your body. So again, subconscious is probably not here. You might notice it. And if you have a problem feeling, well, then just rub yourself a little bit more, squeeze your shoulders and be like, all right, what do I fear about being that published fiction writer?
Well, then people will see me.
Okay. And if people see you, there she is. What is in that picture that's scary?
Well, then I can't hide. And I can't, it still has to do with fear, I think, because then I can't be safe. I won't be safe because people see me.
Where did you learn? Do you have anything in your family history, ancestry about being seen as being unsafe?
I don't know.
Yeah. I want to be able to hide.
I want to be able to hide.
I really like being able to hide.
I really like being able to hide.
It's in my nature.
It's in my nature.
Don't take away my ability to hide.
Take away my ability to hide.
I refuse to be that visible.
I refuse to be that visible.
Don't take away my exit.
Don't take away my exit.
Don't take away my ability to hide.
Take away my ability to hide.
It's so not worth being a published author.
Worth not being published.
If I'm not allowed to hide anymore.
Hide anymore.
That would be stupid, and I'm not stupid.
Yeah, I'm not stupid.
I need to come up with some more distractions to make sure this never happens.
Distractions to make sure this never happens.
Okay.
Can I
I'm
ask a
thinking,
quick question? I think I love that, but what if you used an anonymous name? Like I'm not saying that's the way to go, but I'm curious if that feels less visible because I think there's also a vulnerability when we write. So like it might help, like if you imagine writing under a pseudonym,
Mhm.
do you still have the same resistance and fear? And if so, there's probably something deeper to go to.
I think it is less. I'm not sure that it's completely gone, but it definitely is less.
and thank you. And that's where I was going to go too, because um, the truth is that some of us have more of a nature where like I don't I don't want to be so visible that I'm famous. Like I don't want to be famous. There's so much example of like Kanye West, please save me from being so talented that everyone won't even let me eat lunch, right? And that's a spectrum. And so like what we did is we said, okay, what if you give yourself a little bit more of an ability to hide and a pseudonym? Um, and there's a lot of people I'm working with and that I'm aware of that are really talented people that are choosing the pseudonym culture. They they're using animated figures and other things. They're using pseudonyms. Mark Twain wasn't called Mark Twain. Um, you know, we're not even sure exactly who Shakespeare was. There's some arguments about that. So there's a possibility, but then look at like what else in that. Um, and thank you for coming forward because somebody who has such a strong lifelong desire to do something and doesn't do it, and you let me say like these distractions, like it is ridiculous to think that you have to be clutter free. That's the kind of thing that the subconscious mind will let verbal, oh no, we have to be clutter free before we could think clearly. That's not what it is.
Also
There's
have
a,
to write before, I can write, and I have
yeah,
to,
yeah.
yeah,
At some point, I think tapping allows me to say, even though I got this bullshit going on right now, I use that weekly. It's one of my favorites. Even though I've got this justification bullshit going on, it's okay. There's probably some fear here. And then dropping in, like, what am I really concerned about? And I believe with creative people, like the pseudonym, the like, what does it mean to there's a variety of different things from a logistic environmental thing that allow you to move forward that aren't in your picture of you described it identity published fiction writer removed your ability to hide and you just won't do that. Now you could like again tap on maybe some other things about hiding, giving yourself permission, um, giving false, real name but false information about where you live. you know, I don't know where you live. It doesn't matter. We get to still engage. That type of thing. Like there's a way of crafting it, but not until you're really clear about like there are fears and what I think, what my body thinks. And you did seem to get some guidance when you went down into your body. Um, and know that there's alternatives. And that's where the subconscious fear and block goes to being like, okay, well, if I'm a fiction writer, what kind of story could I write about myself? Like, oh, I can create a persona. You create a really enjoyable persona, one that I like, that I use for my book. They're fiction. I'm not guaranteed, that type of thing. It can start getting you into more freely moving yeah. How does that feel to you?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. It's also really hard for me to show up here and work publicly. It's just.
I appreciate your courage so much.
You.
Everyone here. This is a tough subject. Do we want to do one more quick tapping with someone, or how do we want to do it?
One, you want to pick Condi, and
Uh,
then we'll finish up. But let's keep it to one
Yeah.
duet. Thanks for watching the time.
Yeah. Hi, Candy.
Hi there.
What's going on for you?
Well, I have been working on receiving for a while and really focusing on blocks that I had about money and my story that I had about money and why I couldn't have money. And then this morning, as I was waking up, I got this thought bubble in, inspiration or intuition that said, it was kind of like the story of my parents and how their version of success really was just getting by. That was successful because they came from really poor backgrounds. And that was their version of success, settling for less, just getting by, working hard. It's got to be a struggle. And so I have this theme that is definitely the working hard and the struggle, and also not receiving the amount that I would really love to receive in my business. It's just like capped. So.
Okay, love that. Okay, so I want to do just a quick tapping with you, but I want to first tell you my silly hummingbird story because I think it's applicable. It helped me a lot. My cat died in January, so I started feeding the birds so I was less lonely, and I started putting out food for the hummingbirds, and I'm up to 4 hummingbird feeders because they tell all their friends. The other day, I washed all the hummingbird feeders, I made fresh nectar, and I put it out there, and I was sitting in my hot tub watching them, and there was such a sense of fulfillment and pleasure that they were choosing my hummingbird feeders, that they were drinking it. It was happy. They were in the sunshine. You could just tell they enjoyed it. And there was a sense of like, oh, look, I gave them something they really love. They're delighted. They're happy. And it was like, I felt so fulfilled and happy. And I realized that I think the universe feels that way when we partake of the abundance that it's giving us. So it's a silly hummingbird story, but I like the idea of like, hey, the universe is offering us things. And half the time we're like, no, I can't have that. Or, oh, no. And it's like, oh, you don't like the nectar I put out for you? Oh, that's a little sad. I would have liked you to enjoy the nectar I gave you. So let's just tap a little bit if that's okay.
All right, yeah.
Karate chop. Hey, little one.
Hey, little one.
The little me that decided I couldn't have it all.
The little me that decided I couldn't have it all.
Thank you for loving me.
Thank you for loving me.
You are so smart.
You are so smart.
And when you were little, it wasn't safe to have too much.
It wasn't safe to have too much.
You had to conform to mom and dad.
You had to conform to mom and dad.
They had a very closed system.
They had a very closed system.
They didn't think that we could let nectar in from outside.
They didn't think we could let nectar in from outside.
It had to be effort.
Had to be effort.
Had to do it ourselves.
Had to do it ourselves.
Lots of struggle.
Lots of struggle.
Barely getting by.
Just barely eking by.
I'm so sorry that's what you had to do.
I'm so sorry that's what you had to do.
That must have been so hard.
That must have been so hard.
And you've been trying to protect me all this time.
And you've been trying to protect me all this time.
From being rejected.
From being rejected.
Or judged.
Or judged.
And I have such good news for you.
I have such good news for you.
We don't live in that system anymore.
We don't live there anymore.
We can throw open the windows.
We can throw open the windows.
We can let sunshine come in without any effort on our part.
We can let sunshine come in without any effort on our part.
We can enjoy nectar in lots of different areas of our lives.
We can enjoy nectar in lots of different areas in our lives.
We don't have to work hard to earn it.
We don't have to work hard to earn it.
It can just arrive like sunshine.
It can just arrive like sunshine.
Under the nose, and we can feel grateful and delighted.
And we can feel grateful and delighted.
We do not have to struggle.
We do not have to struggle.
And I know you thought this for a long time.
And I know you thought this for a really long time.
So we'll take it slow and work together. And I'm also wondering if you could help me notice opportunities for nectar.
And I wonder if you could help me notice opportunities for nectar.
Because I know you're super smart. And I would love your help. Take a nice deep breath. What are you noticing in your body?
I feel like a giggle
I love
inside.
it. I love it. And if you can, little
Yeah.
ways, like even if you notice
Yeah.
something small, appreciate that younger self for helping you notice. Like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like, literally, I think abundance is just like sunshine. Like we all can
Yeah.
allow it. And yes, there are systemic oppressions that really make it harder for some people than others. And we can get out of our own way at least and make things much easier for ourselves. So,
Right.
yeah, if you can just imagine that the universe is offering you nectar, it's like, do you like this flavor? How about this? And I think it really wants us to be blissful and happy and have everything we really want.
As Thank you. I've got chills all over. Thank you.
Thanks so much for bringing this forward. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
All
Go ahead.
right. Thank you. Okay.
Cindy, thank you. And thank you all. Thank you, Cathy. Emotional Freedom Day 2021. Feeling into the deeper truths. We do work and it takes us to a certain place. And then we come together with the intention to be vulnerable to the extent that we feel comfortable. And maybe you're like several hundred other people that have signed up that couldn't be here live. Maybe you're sitting and watching this replay. I hope that you can feel the circle that you're a part of, the community that you're a part of. You're not alone wherever you are in the world. We have people everywhere in 170 different countries that are wanting to thrive, and that recognizing that developing some emotional skills, real skills that come together, they stack on each other. The person that can let nectar in as part of an organization is going to be a conduit for that flowing through them and to the community. Those of us that are exploring ways to be generous, the gliding scale, I have to just acknowledge and honor that there are people that really understand what this is about. There are a lot of people in the world that really right now, the gift of coming and doing something for free is what their soul needs. It's like, no, I need to feel like there's something available to me that I don't have to pay for. And there are other people that have had that and they're paying it forward. And other people that just recognize that to do good work requires money. And so you all are a part of an exploration and an ecosystem, an emotional world. To me, we're environmentalists. We're paying attention to what's inside of our own skinosphere, the things that are like, oh, yeah, that's a block. And it impacts me. It impacts my ability to be generous and receptive and loving and to be an artist, to share the words that are been inside of me since I was a child. You'll notice that Cathy tuned into the part of us that maybe knew that we always wanted to be a writer, that we wanted to fashion stories and share them with other people, and to re-tap into that, but then do it in an evolved way, in a way that feels just more emotionally free and safe and respectful, and maybe community too. Invite you. ThrivingNow.center is a place where it's away from Facebook, it's away from Twitter, it's for civil discourse. Anyone that doesn't get that is not going to be there. But it means that we can be vulnerable and share. You're welcome to use a pseudonym, by the way. And in that place, we can explore this together. And Cathy, thank you so much in so many ways for being a co-creator in this.
I love it so much. I love the energy. If you were here and you worked on this, please give yourself just appreciate yourself for a minute. This is scary stuff, and a lot of people never even are aware that it's happening. They're just at whim of their subconscious. The fact that you were here and did this work will give you new awareness, and a lot may bubble up over the next 24 or 48 hours. Be gentle with yourself. Drink some liquid. Connect in the center if you like. That's a really good place to not feel alone, and know that you've done something really good for yourselves. Thank you so much for putting this together, Rick, and thank you all for coming. You're awesome.
Bye for now.